The only solution that our government is providing towards the major problems that we have as a country is privatization. How do you say
super
that?
Obsessed.
Why are we so obsessed with privatization that we overlook that? Why don't we also focus on revamping most of the state corporations that we have? And that is why I keep telling people that aside from this, one of the biggest agents of the new world order has to be President Ruto. Because, first of all, Kenya has not been an entirely capitalistic state. Kenya has functioned in a way that is a social democracy with a little bit of elements of capitalism. Whereby, 5 years ago, we had so many state corporations, from KPLC, from coffee, from tea, all these were state corporations. But right now, Ruto is coming to tell us that we don't need all these 50 corporations. What should we do? We should sell all the assets and privatize everything about this whole government. So Kenya will turn away from being a kind of social democratic entity to now a full-blown capitalist state.
Yes. In fact, Adrian,
and in fact, if you analyze very keenly on how most of these companies are selling their assets, you will always know that there is a certain foreign company that is owning a stake in most of our corporations. If you look at agriculture, right now we are planning on selling most of the agricultural land that we have in Kenya. Did you know that Bill Gates will own a very big percentage of agricultural farmland in Kenya through certain companies? There are also certain oil companies that are coming in that will also own a stake in our Kenya Pipeline Company. All these companies that we do not own. So what really happened is that these international corporations sat down with Ruto at a boardroom and told him, we want your country to be a full-blown capitalist state. And that is the thing that we are seeing here today. So we have been sold the idea that there is nothing we'll ever solve unless it is privatized.
Yeah, you see, and it also explains, you can look at the trail. How much money are we losing?
Absolutely.
And it's mostly politicians pocketing it. So how do they use it? They come up with an idea of them acquiring state assets without you knowing. Because we only know the public part of a PPP. But the private part is usually shrouded in a lot of secrecy.
Absolutely.
To remember that today the president talked about that we are not funding Mauri Roni Road with public money. But 45% of the project is funded by NSSF, is in that public. But we are not told who is the other person that is funding the 55%. It means that the same thieves in our government who are stealing our money are coming through the back door to buy what we have as sovereign assets of the people. So that jeopardizes the sovereignty of the people. Because when you sell Kenya Ports Authority, Kenyans have invested into that authority. So how do you sell it without even compensating the Kenyans that have invested in it? It means that someone who can steal money in billions for a whole year, one sector is losing 50. This person can raise 200 billion to buy stakes in Safaricom through Proxies. That's not too difficult to do. You can imagine at right now, Museveni can fire the head of Kenya Pipeline Corporation because they have bought a lot of shares in it. What happens to the sovereignty of the people of Kenya? And I'm persuaded to believe that it is not Museveni. Some Kenyan have become a Ugandan through Proxies.
Starbucks.
I told you, when William Ruto came into power in 2023, when Mithika Linturi was Minister for Agriculture, Kenya listed 40 acres in Zambia to plant maize. 3 weeks ago, or a month, we imported maize from Zambia. So we did not go and take the maize we planted from the land we leased as the country. We imported from Zambians. What does that tell you? A Kenyan had planted maize in Zambia, and now he's selling it to us. That's why we are being told that now we are importing. So there are things that are happening in this country, and people need to pay attention. So all these people stealing all these big things, how do they make use of the money they have stolen? They can buy all the blue chip companies that is benefiting the people. So when someone has bought of Kenya Pipeline Corporation, he has bought of Safaricom, he has bought of 2,000 acres in Galana Kulalu, he's the biggest producer of wheat, which means he determines what comes to your table in the morning, because he also sells eggs. He determines that who do you call, he knows, because he has controlling stake in Safaricom. He determines everything about your life. And the people are just shouting. So people must know what is the impact on your life as an individual.
Absolutely.
When this impact comes, it doesn't ask whether you are one term, two term, or you don't even know. It just comes.
In fact, what is the biggest impact of privatization? And I keep telling people that anything that is privatized will never do its deed for the people,
Yes.
but for profits.
I said that here
And
last
I tell
time.
people that if you look at certain kind of states that we are turning into, look at a particular, let's look, for example, USA. Do you know that in USA, particularly right now, nobody owns land?
Yes.
Nobody. Even the house that people have in the USA are not owned by the people who live in there. Because they privatize the real estate so much that houses become so expensive because the owners of real estate companies wanted to make so much profit that right now for you to own a home in America, you have to take a mortgage.
Yes.
And a mortgage is not less than 30 years, others 50 years. So for a long time, for 50 years of your life, you get a home while you're maybe even 30 years old. For 50 years of your life, you'll be paying monthly house remittance.
Yes.
For
You
a
will
house
never
that
stop paying.
For a house that you will never own.
Yes.
And that is the and
The
that is
kind
the
of life
Kenya,
they want
and that
us
is the
here.
kind of life that they want for the people of Kenya. Right now, they're telling you that the land that you own in
Move
your
out of
Ushago,
it.
move out of it and come
Go to
for an
affordable
affordable
housing.
house here in Nairobi. In the US, it is practically impossible for someone to buy a ranch outside there. Because why? It is very expensive. But here in Kenya, it is very affordable. I can get 10 acres for less than 2 or 3 million back in my village. Very interior there. And I can settle, grow my food and do everything. But the moment you start privatizing most
Everything.
of land, real estate companies, all this, that power of owning something is taken away from the people. And I tell Kenyans, if you are celebrating private partnerships right now that Ruto is calling and howling about everywhere,
Yes.
in the near future, not so long from today, 20 years to come, you will own nothing.
Like, I wanted to look at the project of Mauri Rone Road. No, Mauri Rone Road is not being built as a project or a public infrastructure for people to use. It's a commercial project. It is being built to raise money.
Profits.
Profit. So that becomes a business idea. So we are using 45%, 45% of the project is going to be funded by the public through NSSF, but the 55% is a private investor who is going to look at how do I rake in the money I'm using.
Not for the good of the
Not for the good of the people. Now, where do they get money from? From 8 shillings per kilometer. When you multiply 8 shillings by 170, you get 1,300. Which means that when I am going home, as me using the road, on Mauri Rone Road alone, I will use 1,300. I have paid Mbukinya bus fare of 2,500. That becomes almost 4,000. So any business idea, how do you maximize profit? By making sure that there is no alternative to use but just that road.
Do you know that's the reason why when we were having the floodings, at first, the first notice that they made, they only allowed people to use the expressway
For
for
2
about
hours.
2 hours. Why?
Kutoka saa tatu mpaka
Because
saa tano.
if they go for even more than 1 hour, they are losing millions of
Millions
shillings.
of
Why?
shillings.
Because it is privatized. In a disaster like a flood, they had to only allow people for only 2 hours. Because that road is not owned by the government, it is owned by a company.
Yes.
Such that any extra minute of letting you use that road is not profitable to them.
And I know after they flood, they met somewhere in a boardroom to discuss the loss they made for 2 hours.
And how they are going to recoup it.
To recoup it.
All right, people of the internet, my panel, we want to bring this to a close. Now,
Not yet.
Not yet.
Why are you going to a close? You've not
Why?
discussed NTSA.
Hey, it is-
That's the main topic.
usinibo weku steady ukiwa proxy kila pedi kwa na doka we ni ngombe usikae na goat milioni wanza na bob zile viper tumedot kila mchoro wanza na dot naongeza skari mingi waulize tuskate limit ili video nyeshe tiris niapatiwe degree simanishi chebi kisema nilishika mili ile pressure kubwa ntona
Selector, selector deno.